There is a subreddit I follow called Clown Arrested. It's exactly what you might think. Vetted headlines about clowns being arrested, with most headlines about child sex abuse. Headlines like birthday clown charged with possession of child pornography, or circus sued over cover-up of alleged sex abuse, and former clown academy teacher accused of child rape. You don't need any education, license, or certification to market yourself as a clown. Most clown organizations are small businesses, and many don't run background checks. In the United States alone, there have been more than one of these clown abuse headlines every single day for years. This is an epidemic. Where is the outrage? We should be putting down these companies, shutting them down, and passing strict regulations, but we aren't. Why not? Well, the main reason is that one key thing I said was a lie. The subreddit I actually follow is called Pastor Arrested, not Clown Arrested. Everything else I said is true. I just substituted clown for pastor and circus for church. Now, cute rhetorical flourishes aside, if abuse was found to be happening in circuses and among clowns at anywhere near the same rate as it is in churches and among pastors, the nation would be furious. We would demand immediate closure, boycotts, mass arrests, sweeping government investigations, subpoenas. We would not tolerate it for a single moment. But as Christopher Hitchens wisely observed, religion poisons everything. Religion demands respect for authority, whether it is earned or not. Religion demands faith where evidence is lacking. Religion demands obedience, even where non-compliance is the moral choice. Religion views what are now ritualized displays of contrition and submission to church dogma as more important than conviction, incarceration, and rehabilitation. Most importantly, religion creates a tribalistic us versus them mentality while insisting that members protect the institution as the price of membership. In other words, the reason this happens is because a lawmaker who tries to hold churches accountable will be attacked as being anti-religion. It is the same reason Idaho legislatures year after year have consistently voted to keep allowing fanatical parents to kill their children by refusing basic medical care in the name of faith healing. So, when people ask me, what's the big deal if they don't have a sufficient evidence for their religious beliefs, I point to things like this. Endorsement and participation provides passive political support of a system that puts children at risk of death or sexual abuse while shielding participants from criminal punishment, basic regulation, and even investigation, all in the name of religious solidarity. And this is just one of the many ways that religions hurt people. If you disagree, call us. The show starts now. Welcome, everybody. Today is November, what is today? The 16th, 2025. Yes. And I am your host, the Cross Examiner. Joining me today right now is JMike. How are you, JMike?
I'm great. I only know it's the 16th because I have a loan payment to pay tomorrow. So.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's when that will be taken out. But, you know, it works out.
Let's see if we can get you some of that sweet, sweet money they pay us to volunteer here.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely. So
I'm happy to pay it. I'm on the road. I'm back on the road and all that kind of stuff. You know? So yeah. So I've been dealing with crappy car situations my whole life. I think that I'm convinced a witch hexed me at this point because I offered myself up on TikTok. There's a whole thing called witch talk, which I don't know if it's the same as it was when 2020 COVID, but I would see all these things like I'm going to hex this person or do this kind of thing. And I was like, so I made a video and I was like, choose me. I am a consenting adult and I'm willing for you to put me to the test. Right. Please hex me. Because I'm so convinced this isn't real that I'll offer myself up to the witches. Right. And I've had car problems ever since, apparently, Graham. So it works, apparently.
What is that saying about correlation and causation?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Or correlation, maybe?
I don't really think witches have hexed me, but it's, one of those strange coincidences, I will say.
Yeah, sure. But any of those participants that want to believe will point to you as an example, right? They'll disregard others, and they'll say, look.
Oh, that JMike guy, but
we hexed him and he had mildly infuriating car trouble for months.
Exactly.
Fear my power.
Yeah, I mean, look, I haven't done the show in a minute, so I'm a little rusty, but I'm not rusty enough that I've given up,
right.
Reason at this point. So.
Good point.
Yeah.
Well, let me do our notices here, and then we'll get to our discussion and callers. The Atheist Experience is a product of the atheist community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. Now, I know we have a few people in the queue, but they're in the process of being screened. So I did want to ask you a question if you had a moment. So you had
special when people ask me questions. Like, yay, who cares about what this guy who looks like he's going to ask you for change on the street has to say? Woo!
So you and I were talking pre-show, and you were talking about your interest in this concept of moral facts in relationship to God or the absence of God. And I was wondering if you wanted to take a minute to expand on that real quickly.
It's funny because I wanted to expand on the one I sent you that was geared more towards you. But yeah, no, which was like eyewitness testimony reliability. I kind of sent Graham a few things like, hey, if we need some things to talk about away from kind of callers or something, or to start the show out, here's a couple things. I just thought of like those two things. I think it just stems from a lot of the conversations I've had recently on different debate platforms, where it blows my mind that people think, I mean, this isn't like riveting or new information or novel for anybody in the audience, because I think it's weighing on me so much that the only thing preventing some people from doing horrible things is the fact that they believe in God. And I'm someone who's never believed in God. I've had really woo kind of spiritual-esque beliefs that were, it highlights a lack of good, critical thinking and reasoning skills.
Right.
I didn't have this massive deconstruct. It was very easy kind of for me to, once I kind of saw the light, to kind of move on. But I just have never in my life been like, oh, the reason why I felt bad for taking the toy from my friend or something was because I believed in God. It was like, no, I recognize like intrinsically, like I robbed them of time. That's something that their parents got them, or that they spend their time, that I'm robbing their time now away with this toy or whatever game, whatever it is that you could take from somebody, which it did take a toy from somebody when I was a kid. And I felt really, really bad. That's why I bring that example up.
Right.
But yeah, even as a kid, it wasn't like, oh God, I just had this feeling even as a kid, like I shouldn't have done that. Like that was a mistake for me to make. And it wasn't grounded in some fundamental mind that pre-existed my existence. Yeah. It was just recognizing kind of what's intrinsic to the circumstances. And so it blows my mind, I guess, is why I wanted to talk or just mention that it just doesn't click for me.
Well, and it's a great topic. If anybody wants to call in and talk about it, is something interesting. It reminds me of this concept. I was a resident assistant in college, and I was an RA in the freshman dorm. So for people not familiar with that, you're a more senior student who gets free room and board to live in one of the dormitories, and you are a bit of a counselor, you're a bit of a social activities coordinator, a bit of an educator, and a bit of a cop. And our resident director, day one of training, gave us this framework that has lived with me to this day. And he based it on these sort of hierarchy of sort of moral decision-making causes. And he started, like the basic reason to do something that might be considered moral is, I'm going to do this to avoid punishment, right? That's why a kid doesn't steal the cookie from the cookie jar. And then it goes up from there to, hey, I recognize due to empathy that I'm going to hurt somebody, up to, at the highest level, I'm going to do what is right despite being punished, right? There's a whole level here. And he would talk to us about like, when you go knock on the door at 3:00 in the morning because of a noise complaint, try to hit them up at level 7, but you may have to drop all the way down to level 1 real quickly. And it reminds me of this, because if the only reason you're not stealing, murdering, raping is because you're worried I mean, you're worried about a God, but I'm assuming from that you are worried about the consequences because God will enforce post-mortem consequences. Then you're at level 1, right? You're just doing it out of fear of punishment. You're just a dog who doesn't get on the couch because you're afraid that they're going to tell you to get off the couch and spray you with a water bottle or whatever.
Which is weird, because if I give a hypothetical scenario to somebody, like, you know, at this level 1 kind of scenario, if I'm hearing you correctly, and it's like we have the moral fact detector 9000, right, machine that we can just go to and it'll report all the moral facts. And it's like, you know, throw the 3rd child that's born in your family off of a building, right? I think a lot of people won't feel the normative force, right? Just because, like, there's okay, but what? There's always this question of, like, why should I care about that? Like, the fact that the moral fact machine, or, well, one reason that someone might say is like, well, the moral fact machine 9000, whatever I called it. Sorry, I already lost it.
We got to get a better commercial name for that.
Exactly. We'll patent
Moralometer.
Yeah, we'll patent it and everything. They might cite, like, well, look, it also tells us what the consequences of not performing that action might be.
Right.
And I guess depending on, like, there might be people that's like very selfish and it's just like, yeah, right, I'm gonna do that because I don't want something to happen to me. But it really tells this, like, inner psychology about the person that's involved, case by case. And a lot of people are going to look at that and go, I don't give a shit. I'm not going to throw my 3rd child off the building. Consequences be damned. And outside of that context, you know, it's really, at least it's strange to me, because I know they're not going to do it based on the consequences. So I always wonder what the psychological component is with the belief in God, because you change it to something where they're not attached to that, and all of a sudden it's like, you know, fuck that, right? But right. I don't know. It's just, there's, to me, it kind of highlights you can give all the arguments, let's say positive for atheism. I could have, like, God doesn't exist as a conclusion, and everyone's just kind of like, yeah, you know what, I think that's true. You still have this psychological component. There's the fact that they read words and are convinced by something still doesn't get the philosophical or the empirical stuff still has to be met with this psychological component. That's why we get anti-vaxxers, right? And flat earthers, despite the empirical evidence. So
right.
There's
Absolutely.
something there, and it's, God, I wish I could figure that out.
Well, if you, the callers, have any ideas about this, let me know. I'm reminded of Penn Jillette, I think, said this, maybe somebody else, but, you know, he said, in answer to part of this question is like, I murder exactly as many people as I want to, which is 0. Yeah. And I don't believe in God. So if you guys, especially anybody I'd love to hear from a listener who's like, the reason I don't do this felony level bad thing is because I believe that a God exists. I'd love to hear from that caller, but we've had a few callers screened already. First, we're going to talk to Benjamin, who is a community a member of the Atheist Community of Austin, and I think that he has an update for us on the work that we are doing in the ACA. Benjamin, are you on the line?
I am here. Thank you so much for having me on, guys.
Hey, Ben, how's it going?
Doing all right. Been keeping busy doing work for the ACA.
What have you been up to?
Well, I'm super excited to announce we are now affiliated with the American Humanist Association. We're now officially affiliates with that organization, and we've been doing a lot of work to try to partner with other nonprofits. And so actually this little thing that we're doing, a community spotlight every week, or as often as we can on our shows, to try to highlight some of those partnerships and highlight the work that different atheist and humanist groups are doing all across the country.
That's interesting. I missed this month's update meeting, so this is exciting. I'm learning this right now. What are the implications of this affiliation? Are we going to be doing any sort of joint projects? Where are we going?
We are. Actually, one of the first things that we're going to be doing is happening within a month. We're both working in partnership, and they're helping to sponsor a collaboration to help an organization known as Equality Texas. They're one of the leading organizations in the state of Texas fighting on behalf of the LGBT community. Every year, they do a statewide road trip to different LGBT communities across the state that are resource deficient. And so as part of that partnership, we're actually working with Genetically Modified Skeptic and the American Humanist Association to do a donation drive on December 7th. For anyone that's interested in coming out, we're looking for things like banned books, Plan B, gender-affirming clothes and cosmetics, and of course canned foods that then Equality Texas is going to take all across the state to help distribute to the communities that need that support.
How can people donate to this? That's only back of the envelope about 3 weeks away. How can we help?
So the best way, if you live in the Austin area, or you live close enough that you can come in or you're willing to donate, we're going to be at the Free Thought Library on Kenning Lane. You can find that on our website at atheist-community.org, or look us up online, the Free Thought Library. We'll be there from 12 to about 6 o'clock, collecting donations from folks and working with the folks from Equality Texas. Otherwise, you can go onto our website and click the donate tab and just put in the message that this is going to this campaign, and we'll be happy to convey that on to Equality Texas.
Fascinating. How about you, Mike? Any questions for Ben on this? This is, I mean, literally, this sounds like I'm doing a softball interview, which a little bit it is, but I'm learning this right now. And I know that the American Humanist Association, I've done, donated to them, and I've watched their work. So I'm very, very excited about this. Mike, have you ever worked with them, or any other questions for Ben?
No, but I mean, it's, adjacent in many ways is I just actually flew back from Phoenix. My buddy's vice president of the Humanist Society of Phoenix, and so I had to hang out over there and do that. So I'm actually curious, kind of. I guess more of a question. Ben, you wouldn't be able to answer because I don't know if you're as familiar with like every humanist kind of organization, but I am curious. I am curious because of this is one of my best friends that's associated with them. Kind of how we intermingle this. And I remember one of my friends calling me and just being like, I'm really pissed off that, my girlfriend or wife whose family's Christian will go out and they'll do some nice things for like homeless people. And like, I understand that the ACA and there's other organizations that do this, but you see this with other churches and they'll kind of hide behind this, we do good things kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And you don't get that representation on the wide scale. So I guess my question's mainly going to be, what can people at home do to either build a community that gets kind of fed into this umbrella where we can help each other out, or like, how does someone at home who has just no idea what to do get started with this and maybe even develop a community? I know Secular Rarity does stuff in, I believe it's Nashville, right? I always get cities in Tennessee.
Think so.
Yeah, it's in Nashville, right? What could somebody just kind of sitting on their couch watching the show do?
Sure, yeah. So I've spent the last about 4 years doing a lot of community organizing work before coming on board to help out with the atheist community of Austin. And that's a big question that everyone is kind of faced with. And I think most of my advice is look up other nonprofit organizations in your local community and start getting involved. As part of this effort, we're actually, the ACA in partnership with the AHA, is looking at launching a hopefully nationwide volunteer organization to go out and do that kind of work, to go feed the homeless and house the unhoused, go out and participate and support other nonprofits all across the country. So we're not launching it just yet, but that is an effort we're looking at building up. And so finding those local groups, I know the American Humanist has on their website, they have over 200 affiliate organizations, one of which is the Atheist Community of Austin now. So you can try to find chapters in your local area and then ask them how they want to contribute. How do they want to volunteer? Sometimes, even if we don't have the money, we have our fellow humanists, our fellow atheists, that we can go out and do that work. We can go and show up and pack boxes and help do logistics for folks and just show up and be in those spaces to help create community, to not only expand the atheist and humanist communities, but help expand community and give people a place to be, a community that cares about them, that is doing the work collaboratively to support one another. And so generally my advice is go out and find it. Sometimes it's as simple as a Google search away for what's the local homeless shelter.
Meet Me is one I've seen where like people or meet what is it, meet up or
meet
whatever.
Up, yeah.
Meet Me or meet up or whatever. I get confused on whichever one's which, but I see
it's because nobody wants to meet with you.
No, well, that's my like dating life history of like just being unsuccessful. One of those apps is probably that.
I had a question for Ben.
But the other one is like you can.
Yeah.
Well, the other one is you can actually, whichever the right one is, because I'm just horrible with remembering names of different apps. But I remember I searched online, and that was Meetup or whatever. It had listed a whole bunch of different like human, well, at least there was only one near me that I saw, but different, like, we're going to go to breakfast over at this Denny's or something like that. Yeah.
I live I'm between Washington and Baltimore, and I see a couple up in Baltimore that are breakfast with atheists or something like that, and I keep meaning to attend, and I never quite find the time, but they're out there and you can find those. So my question for Ben is, I don't want to keep you on any much longer, but one thing that I'd like to sort of pretend I think I know the answer, but I often see religious organizations doing the same thing, going out and feeding the poor, clothe the poor, house the poor. But many of them, not all of them, condition receipt of the benefit on attendance or receipt of propaganda. Like, hey, we're gonna have a soup kitchen, but first come over here and the preacher's going to talk to you about God, and then you can get the food. I'm assuming that I don't have to listen to a humanist propaganda before I get any benefits from this. Is that correct?
No strings attached. This is about going out and being present in communities, finding people to support. And if they want to come and join our communities and come be a part of what we're doing afterwards, we're of course receptive to that, but absolutely not. That kind of care and aid should never be gatekept behind some kind of missionary message. And in the conversations I've had with the American Humanist Association, they're very much in line on that. And so once we get the Atheist Vanguard up and running, that is going to be part of its mission and values. Is like, this is not a proselytizing group. This is a group to create community through support and through action, to go out into local communities, wherever you happen to be, to go make things better for the people that you live with and are around you.
Absolutely. I would encourage anybody who's listening, whatever your religious beliefs, to fully support that concept. If your church is conditioning aid on being proselytized to, you should reach out to your church leaders and ask if that's the right thing to do or not. Because that's one of my pet peeves, is somebody comes back and says, this church does so much good. And when you dig into it, there's usually, not always, but there's usually a hook. You got to sit through the timeshare sales before you get the golf clubs, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So anything else to update us on, Ben, before we move on?
No, this has been a real pleasure and privilege. Thank you so much for having me on. You guys are doing a bang-up job. Once again, just reach out, check us out at atheist-community.org and get involved. There are opportunities to volunteer. There's opportunities to donate. So check us out. We are also on Meetup for anyone in the greater Central Texas area. So let us know. And thanks for having me on, guys.
And Ben, thank you for, I flew to Austin for the back cruise, and Ben, I didn't have wheels and stuff. Ben was so awesome and drove me around everywhere, and helped me go get food when I was hungry and all this stuff. So thank you for all the work you do behind the scenes, because a lot of people don't see all the things that you do, and so I just wanted to let you know that I greatly appreciate that, and I'm sure a lot of other people, if they did know, they would as well.
I can second that. When the call came up and the crew told me who was in, they called Benjamin, and I didn't put two and two together. And then I heard your voice, and you can see if you rewind the tape, I'm like, oh, Ben, that guy. Ben, it was a pleasure to meet you as well. I didn't ride around. I heard it because you were saying in order to get a ride, I had to listen to your music, which seems to go against what you just said, but no.
As somebody who had horrible agoraphobia and was like, just hard for me to leave my little nest in my space and stuff. Going to Austin a few years back was my real first going out, into the wild beyond my kind of state, other than doing some band stuff, which the whole time it freaked me out. I was always just anxious and stuff. And every time I've gone, you guys have just made me feel that has not been an issue for me. I've gotten over this kind of agoraphobia with exposure or something, but Ben, you made it extremely easy for me to feel comfortable. So I wanted to thank you.
That means a lot. Ben. I'm glad we could do that. Really appreciate it. You guys have a good one.
You too.
Bye. That was great. Excited to hear that news. I had not heard that before this, so that's wonderful. Unless you have anything to add, I'm just going to jump right to the next call. Is that okay, Mike? Anything to add there?
Oh no, let's do it.
All right.
Shout out to the Humanist Society in Phoenix.
Absolutely. So I've got very good news. The Supreme Leader is on the line. That's their screen name, from Colorado. And the question is, if you saw fulfilled prophecy, would you believe it? Now, I'm going to make sure I understand this because I think that's a bit of a begging the question or assuming the premise. So first, did I get your question right, Supreme Leader? And then, by the way, pronouns he, him. And second, I would first want to define what you mean by fulfilled prophecy, because that seems to be the juxt of the question, is how would you detect that? Because I think the answer would be, if you saw a cat, would you believe that you saw a cat? The answer would be yes, but that's definitional. So, Supreme Leader, how you doing? Did I get your question right?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good, good. Did I get your question right?
You did. We did.
Did you understand how what Graham? Because I thought that was very astute from Graham there. That's actually like a very well said point, which is, it seems to assume the thing in contention, possibly, right?
Yeah.
To think it's a prophecy, for someone to tell me it's a prophecy, it assumes that kind of religion is already true.
What am I saying? I'm trying to tell you. I told you the future.
Okay, yeah, that's what we just want to understand your term usage.
Yeah.
You might mean something that's not, has the baggage of prophecy or something. Right?
So let's define terms. You know, I've got a legal background. JMike has a philosophical background. The professions are similar. You start with definition of terms. So hold on. We'll let you talk. Let's define terms. So first, could you please define for us what you mean by prophecy? And second, well, I'll do a follow-up after that. Define for us what you mean by prophecy, and how do you differentiate prophecy from any other prediction?
Oh, I'm trying to tell you, I see the future.
Okay, but can you answer my question? What is a prophecy, and how is it different from a prediction or a guess?
Oh, and instead of a prediction or a guess, I actually see the future. I know that sounds ridiculous.
So you're saying it
doesn't. But I'm not getting you to answer the question, and I'm sort of gatekeeping this conversation a little bit because I want to make sure we can have a productive conversation. Sorry, JMike, but
no, you're good.
The question is just, what is your definition of prophecy? If your contention is, if you're asking us, would we believe a fulfilled prophecy? My question back to you, before I can even understand your question, is, what is a prophecy? So could you please tell me, or maybe we could start with, the lottery in the United States, the Mega Millions, is up to like $1 billion. If I go and play the lottery and I win the $1 billion this week, did I issue a prophecy and did it come true? Or did I have a lucky guess, or was it something else?
Well, that's a little complicated. It's more like I traveled into the future. I saw something, and I came back here to tell you what I saw.
JMike, how would we tell if somebody traveled into the future?
Deluded.
I'm not really sure. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
I did watch one really good short on this kind of problem with being able to convince people that you're from the future, and I can't remember what they went into, but it was actually a problem. I was like, hey, I've never really thought of it this way, and I would do a horrible job recapitulating what was said. So I'm not really sure, absent retaining that video's information, which is kind of all I've got in the bank. I'm not really sure. I'm still kind of on Graham's point with I'm wanting to understand what you. First off, did you use maybe you were interpreted as giving a prophecy because you said that you saw the future, and so the call screener put you as prophecy? Is that a word that you use to describe your seeing the future kind of thing? I'm trying to understand what you mean by the term. Or if maybe it just means the fact that when you see something that's going to happen in the future, it's going to happen in the future. I'm trying to understand what you mean. That way we don't just equivocate on predictions.
Well, of course, we're talking about the Bible here, okay?
Okay, I'm asking this the term usage. Like you said the word. The reason why I'm asking if you said it, you said the word. You mean something by it. What did you mean? Right? When I say words, I mean something by it. And when someone asks me, what did you mean by that term? I can try to like elucidate a little bit. I mean, I might peter out eventually, but I can try to explain what I mean.
Yeah. So again, coming back, can you please define what you mean by prophecy? Like if I said, what do you mean by wagon? You'd say it's a box with wheels or something on it and probably has a handle. Like you could define it for me or at least come close. What do you mean by prophecy?
Oh, well, I got the time. Okay. Just so I could express how I feel about your show.
Okay. No. Okay, I just muted you. You're being dishonest. So, and anyone that's like not wondering maybe why we're getting hung up on a term that we have probably all of us have a shared usage on, is that it's very important for somebody to establish what they mean, so that later on, when you point out an issue with what they say, they go, "I didn't say that. I didn't agree to that," and it's always this backdoor escape hatch for them. When you get them to agree on term usage, and you can apply some type of internal critique, or even just understand it better, there's no maneuver where you go, "Oh, I didn't say that." So we're not even there yet. Like I asked you how your day was, and you said Tuesday. Right. So that's like not what we're asking. You have opinions about the show. We get it. People have opinions about the show. Not fucking interested in the opinions of the show. What I am fucking interested in is you answering the question. Please just answer. Don't be difficult. I got another caller on the line. I don't want to have to hang up to go to them. I want to talk with you, buddy. So you're unmuted.
So one more time. What do you mean by the word prophecy?
Prophecy would suggest that I've seen the future.
Okay, so it just means that you've seen the future. That's what it means.
That's all.
Okay, and when you go ahead, Graham. Sorry.
Sure, no problem. So let's. So a prophecy is a vision. Now I'm going to expand it a little bit. I assume you mean a view of the future that you have told somebody about. Is that correct? Or are you saying just the vision itself is a prophecy?
Well, it's just a claim, really. I've seen the future, and that's what I saw. And I'm telling you, that's what I saw.
Okay, so how do we tell, back to my second question, how do we distinguish between somebody who actually saw the future and is telling us about it from people who claim they have seen the future and may well believe it, but didn't actually see the future? How do we tell the difference between those two groups?
Well, I guess unless you actually experience your time now, when those people told you it was going to happen and now it's happening, that's all you got.
I'm not sure I understand your answer. So the question again was, we have two groups of people that I assume you will agree exist. One, people who have seen the future, and people who think they have seen the future, or people who claim they have seen the future, but have not. So I've got those two groups of people in front of me, and they're both telling me, I've seen the future and I know what's going to happen. How do I tell which of those two groups has actually seen the future? What's an experiment or test or question I can do to figure that out?
Well, you wouldn't really know until you actually saw those things happening.
Aha. So that's led to my next question, which is, just because the thing happens, does that mean that they actually saw the future? For example, if I said, tomorrow in the United States, there will be a car accident that kills somebody. I have seen it. And then tomorrow, there is a car accident somewhere in the United States that killed somebody. Did I, in fact, see the future, or did I make a guess or prediction? How could I tell?
That's a bit vague, because that sort of...
Hey, yeah, you're on to me. So let's start at the vague. So you agree that that's not interesting enough to make your eyebrows go up, right? If somebody told you that. Right. Now, on the other end, let's say I saw the future. I know what the numbers of the lottery are going to be, and it's 1 out of 390 million or whatever it is, and I got it right. And then next week I do it again, and next week I do it again, and 10 weeks in a row. So it's one chance out of more particles than there are in the universe, that I would win the lottery 10 weeks in a row, and I do that, and I tell you that's because I'm seeing the future, does it mean that I see the future?
No, it means you figured out a statistical probability, and now you can predict.
Or I got somebody on the inside at the lottery office, or who knows, right? Yeah, there's lots of possibilities. So, JMike, you want to jump in? Do you have any questions on that distinction?
No, I think this is a good distinction. I mean, somewhat related, like, you know, let's scale it down a little bit.
Sure,
like, just
let's go for the middle.
Well, no, just like as an example, like that, what you're saying, Graham, appears to work even with the case where I don't see the future, like in that sense. But like, let's just say I know that like the Packers will win the game tomorrow. I mean, I guess that would have been today. I don't know if they play Monday Night Football or not. Right?
Let's shorten this.
Well, hold on. Well, we can shorten it if it's your desire. It's totally up to you. But I just want to make this point. If you want to end it, you can. We can still discuss. If not, if I say I know, that what could be going on is like I guessed and got it right. But a lot of people would go like, well, but how do I distinguish that from like you just guessing and happening to like get it right, or like some circumstance? People wouldn't say you've like met this kind of criterion to know that you knew that was going to happen, as opposed to like just some belief that happened to be right. There seems to be like more to knowing it than just merely believing it and guessing it right. There's like two different things there. And similarly, you just see it in the future and then it just happens to be right. It's like, well, like I might have a dream or a vision about like the pizza. Let's say I work at a pizzeria or something like that. And I have like this vision that my buddy who's going to spin the pizza, like I see it and it's going to fall. Like I even see the exact same scenario. He like knocks over the garlic butter or something. Well, that's what makes him trip up or something. I mean, it didn't really mean that I saw it. It's like potentially scenarios I ran through my head and just reported back that happened to be right, because people do make mistakes and stuff. So, you know, depending on like what the claim even is might matter. Like, oh, I knew that the child at school yesterday would get the math problem right. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, you were bound to probably get that right. You know?
Yeah.
You didn't really see that though, I don't think, but.
So what do you think, Supreme Leader? What's your take on that?
I'm talking about something very unusual.
Okay, so you're saying that a prophecy is something that would be very hard to predict. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so far this seems very usual, so we need the extra sauce to make it unusual sauce, right? That's what we're looking for.
Okay, so but I want to clarify with Supreme Leader. So what you're saying is a prophecy has to be counted as a prophecy, for us to detect a prophecy. It has to be something that on the face of it seems very, very hard to have predicted. Am I reading you right?
I'm saying a circumstance that is so unusual,
right,
that it's probably not going to be predicted.
Okay, so very, very hard to predict. Is that the definition? Like that means that anything that's like that somebody gets right is a fulfilled prophecy? Like if I just win the lottery once, that happens all the time. And there's stories about people who have won the lottery twice. So is there some threshold? How do we determine where that line is?
Okay, that's a good point. Now, this is statistics and probability. Something could happen, but what's the probability that it would happen? And
that's a great question.
Very small.
Yeah. That's why I go to the lottery, because we can put a number on that. It's very rare. But let's change the scenario. I started with there's a car crash, right? Tomorrow in the United States, right? And you said, that's real vague. There's like, statistically speaking, a car crash kills more, like probably one person in every state every day. So it's like I think it's Matt Dillahunty started this one where he's like, if I order a steak from a waiter, am I making a prediction that a steak will come out of the kitchen? No, it's like I'm just observing reality. But let's kick it up a notch for you. I predict that tomorrow at the intersection of Elm and Main Street in my local town at 12:03, a blue Toyota who's driving northbound will crash into a red Honda that was driving southbound, and the left front hubcap of the blue car will fly off and hit and kill a raccoon. and that actually happens, right? Is that the type of thing you're talking about?
I'm talking about odds beyond that, far beyond that.
Beyond that, okay.
All right, well then give us the example. What's this thing that's like, nobody would ever see coming? Sounds like you're saying like, no one would see this thing coming, and I saw it coming. So
okay, yeah, give us an example.
Well, notice how I don't try to overtalk you exactly.
Oh, you're good. That's
you're good.
fine.
You're good.
What I'm saying is odds, statistical odds. You've seen the movie Casino, and he goes in there and he goes, look, man, this machine hit. Do you know what the odds are against that? And then the next one hit right next to it. Do you know what the odds are against that? Now, either you were in on this or you're stupid. It's not going to happen.
And do you see the fallacy in his logic? It's a great scene, by the way. I know exactly what you're talking about. I love that movie. But do you see the fallacy in that logic?
Well, I don't.
There's a third choice. That randomly both machines hit, or it hit twice. I forget if it was two machines or one machine, but both events happen naturally without, he's not stupid, they're not being robbed, and he wasn't in on it. That it could have just happened, right? That's the fallacy in his logic. That's why that scene is so impactful, is he is such a math guy that he knows the odds and says, there's a vanishingly small chance that this just happened naturally, but I'm willing to beat the crap out of this guy, cut his fingers off or whatever happened in the back room because I know how unlikely it is. But what he says is not true. There is a third chance. It really could have just happened. So you need to acknowledge that, right?
But he says, look, I know the odds. This and this happened all in a row, and that will never, ever happen.
That's not the definition of odds. Like, that's just not how slot machines or lotteries work. You could get the exact same lottery numbers pulled on an honest draw 10 times in a row. Like I said, the odds may be lower than 1 for every particle in the universe, but there's a timeline that exists where that actually happens, right? So he's saying, I know the odds, but what he means is it's so unlikely. I'm willing to go out and just go ahead and beat the crap out of you because I don't think it would have happened, right? But he's not technically correct. It could have happened. And if you can't acknowledge that it could have happened, then we don't understand statistics and probability.
Well, personally, that's way beyond my pay grade. I don't understand statistics.
Fair enough.
But what I'm saying is, now if
why couldn't you see the future about statistical like advancements and like? I feel like if you can see the future and stuff, it feels like you'd be able to like.
Well, I mean, he could see the future about a narrow range of topics, right? Let's hear what Supreme Leader says. Tell us how you have seen the future.
Supreme Leader was it was a jest, okay? I'm not a Supreme Leader, okay? I'm a drooly moron, even compared to you, all right? It was a joke. It's a pseudonym.
Doesn't sound like it, but go ahead. No, I mean, it doesn't sound like you're a drooling moron. I understood from the get-go it was a joke, but yeah, it sounds like, I mean, you're carrying your own. So I'd love to hear what your prophecy or your experience was in seeing the future.
Okay, my entire point about the call is, if suddenly the entire monetary system of the world suddenly changes, and we do have to have the mark, just like we used to have the mask and the vaccine and all that stuff. And suddenly we do have to have this mark. Would that change anything for you?
Okay, so I think JMike has his hand raised.
I can see the future, and I know that's not going to fucking happen ever. Like, it's not going to fucking happen. We don't live in wizard land where my friend Jerry's going to like spawn like a fireball out of his fist. We don't live in that world. I don't know why people entertain this shit. Like, it's crazy to me. I know there's a dragon behind me. Not really. Doesn't really exist. Not a real thing.
Well.
Now, I want to hear more. I want to hear more for you, Supreme Leader, and I know that Mike's going to have an answer for you. But I want to clarify for listeners who may not be familiar with what you're talking about. When you say the mark, could you please define what that will be?
Well, it means we now have abandoned the cash currency. We now have a digital currency, and we cannot buy or sell anything without this identifying thing that biometrically identifies us as being a participant in the economic system. Without that, you cannot exchange anything.
So, Mike, I was going to ask Mike. I think he's relating this to. He said that obviously that has to do with the Bible. I go to Mark of the Beast, and this is a translation. I know that's a topic of interest to you as far as translating meaning from the Bible into like this. So, do you have any questions here?
Well, Graham, we talked about this prior, but I don't even know if it would be a good idea to like lay this on top of that, like the interpretive kind of problems.
Yeah, that's true. Let's start with the basics.
I'm not trying to insult this caller. I just think we're working.
Oh, it would spiral into an hour-long call. Yeah.
I think maybe there's different approaches. I'm happy however you want to take it. My issue is like, I don't think any of the contents of the Bible is true. Why should I give a shit about any of this? Like, I just don't like. It's like astrologer coming up to me and saying like, "Here's this astrology handbook," and what they say. Like, at the end of the day, we can bicker about like kind of like in between. But as someone who is like who thinks gods do not exist, like I'm way further on the spectrum of. Not only I'm not convinced in Christianity, I think it's false. Like, I think it's a false proposition that Christianity is true. I think that's false. Right? What you have to help me out. Why should I think that that's true? There's going to be a lot of work to be done there, but like Graham, if you want to entertain it, like on the internal kind of side of it, I think that's probably maybe a better approach. But I just listened to all this shit, and I'm just thinking it just sounds like nonsense to me.
Well, I mean,
we're going to get the mark, and we're going to have to use. What are we talking about right now?
So what interests me personally is relating this sort of argumentation line to what we see elsewhere in the world, where the rubber hits the road. I'm always the rubber hits the road guy. Like, people can have these sorts of conversations. But I hear echoes of this in political circles, in Christian nationalist circles, in geopolitical conflicts, right? That this concept of the Bible says there will be a thing of a time and a place, and then people work very hard to find a thing that looks like that time, thing, and place and say, aha, this validates my belief, therefore I'm right? That's what we're dealing with here, in my opinion, that the Bible just says mark of the beast, and now we're talking about a purely a digital economy as the mark of the beast. Well, there's like a whole bunch of steps there to get there, but the overall phenomena of saying mark of the beast, I'm going to look at the attributes as described in the Bible and then find anything that I think tickles my conspiracy theory brain to say, aha, I found it. Why can't I say it's just that validates my belief?
Why can't I just say it's the red hats that people are wearing?
Right. Yeah, good point.
Right. Like, that seems like the mark of the beast. Like, if I read that verse and then I just look at all these people with certain letters that say, a certain phrase, I'm trying to be careful here. I don't know what I can and cannot say, but it's a red hat that we're all familiar with. Right. Why is that not what the mark of the beast? This is just to me is like nonsense child play garbage. Right.
Yeah, it's in the same category as
you got a mark, and that shows that God's mad.
A car crash will occur at some point in the future, right? I'm looking in the Bible for something that says a northbound Honda will hit a southbound whatever and kill a raccoon with a hubcap and da. And even then, I mean, there's people who read prophecies in the Bible about the red sheep or whatever, or cattle need to be raised on the hills above Israel or whatever. And so they don't go and see if they're there. They go and say they aren't there. I'm going to start raising them. It's like me ordering the steak. Like, I prophesize that the steak will come out of the kitchen, and then I go to the restaurant and I order the steak. So there's this spectrum of what I interpret as a need for validation or a need to satisfy my conspiracy theories. And I find this argument about digital stuff. Are you following us, Supreme? I don't want to cut you off. I want to hear from you. So how do you respond to what we've been saying?
No, it's interesting to hear your thoughts, as always.
Same. So Are you saying that you saw the future and that this will be the mark of the beast that brings about bad things? This digital currency that you're worried about?
What if it's on my left hand?
Well, I don't suppose it would be on the left hand, but I'm just saying.
What if it is? Is it all false?
I'm just saying, what if it happened and you're like, oh man, this is all real now? I mean, the truth is,
Go ahead.
It just feels weird. Like someone actively in power could go, I don't like Christianity. We are moving to this like different kind of economic system, and you pay with your finger. I'm going to make the prophecy fail by forcing it on the left hand of everybody else. This isn't like a prophecy. I could actively work against it, right? Like I don't understand what this is like saying.
well, you could, but you have no power to decide.
Someone could go and just blow up the whole world. Does that mean Christianity is now false because this prophecy? It seems like this whole thing is like, so if it happens, yeah, but if it didn't, it's like, oh well, we will agree that Christianity, doesn't mean it's false, but it has like an insurance policy on it that I really don't like. Do you understand what I'm saying, Graham? Sorry, you can go ahead.
Go ahead, Supreme.
It just seems really like lowbrow to me. It's just...
Go ahead, Supreme. How do you respond to that?
Look, man, are you going to go tell the IRS, screw you, I ain't paying you no taxes? And you know what's going to happen.
I think we're getting a little far off field here because that doesn't really have anything to do with it. I could respond I don't see how bartering would ever be outlawed. Like I don't see how this prediction you're making could ever be true. Under your hypothetical, I'm not allowed to trade some mulch for a chicken with my neighbor, right? Is that what you're talking about? Or are you just sort of glomming onto the fact that it's more convenient for most people in the world to deal with digital currency to the point that we're going to eventually get rid of physical currency, but that won't outlaw bartering, will it? Like I can still trade a chicken for a duck, right?
A guitar for a guitar.
Right.
Yes, I have thought about that. And I think that, well, I suppose it's a black market alternative. I suppose.
Okay. Well, I think we're sort of at the end of where we can go here. I appreciate you calling in. I encourage you to call back. Any last questions, Mike?
No.
Okay. Thank you so much, Supreme Leader. Appreciate your time. Yeah, I don't know what to do with that. Like, the reason I wanted to give oxygen to the conversation is it is a very common argument to say, I believe the Bible is true because the Bible contains fulfilled prophecies, but that is not where we end up. It was more, I've seen the future and conspiracy theory about digital currency or something, which
it's just a little strange. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little heated. I just don't like this it's always so uninteresting to me. It's like nothing ever interesting happens. And we defend some Christians here. It's usually with Muslims, and it's usually like really lame shit, like these waters won't mix. It's always like
God said that life is water based or something like that.
It's always something where you could go, wait, couldn't somebody observe this and write it down?
That would be impossible for somebody to have detected that water is involved in life. I've seen those arguments.
It's crazy to me that people can't like realize the things that are said, and some of these things are things that can be observed and written down after the fact. Or like, I deal with farm animals, so I understand like a little bit of embryology. Actually, I'm not even going to act like they have any credit there because
right. We have a few more calls waiting, so let's jump right into them. We have Alan who wants to discuss Christian nationalism. Alan, him from Arizona. Go ahead. What would you like to talk about?
Just to clarify, so for this conversation, we're just going to go ahead. I'll grant you that the most mythical understanding of Christianity is a myth, but it's the philosophical underpinnings of how a society should work. Okay,
so when you say should, I just want to define should before we move on, and then I want to hear your stance. When you say should, you're talking you're making a moral argument that, like, you really mean that
what's a moral? What's moral
to follow
mean?
it?
What's morals mean?
My question is, you use the word should. I'm asking, what do you mean by should?
That it ought to be, we follow the prescriptions in the biblical text.
Okay, so what does ought mean? Like, where are you getting ought? And this is going to be all JMike.
I'm happy with it being. I'm happy.
So, like, we ought to follow. We ought to follow
with
the prescriptions in the biblical text.
I'm happy with ought being a semantic primitive, and that like you either just understand this concept of ought and should and mistake and things that you shouldn't have done. Like I'm happy with granting all that.
Then it pulls out the next question.
Yeah.
What rules led to the conclusion of we ought to follow it?
No, it's the rules that come out of the ought. It's not that there's rules that precede the ought.
That's problematic. Go ahead, JMike.
I guess I don't understand. Like you're saying it's not true, but we should still follow it. So there isn't a truth maker for the moral fact.
I never said it wasn't true.
You said it was myth. You said it was.
He said he would grant. He would grant that it's not true for the purposes of this argument.
Yeah. So like, and just to clarify, so like we can read text all the time. Like, for example, you can read Harry Potter and get stuff out of it, and like we should follow. Like, hey, maybe I should follow that. And like,
I understand that. That's literally where I was going. Was that if you're saying it and that's this kind of fictionalist sense, yes, somebody can make this stance dependent, subjective notion that I ought to follow that. Right now. The second,
so that's what I said on this argument.
Hold on. I get that. The second someone else goes, I don't think I should follow that. And they go, why not? I don't know. There's some like brute psychological facts about me, genetics and things I didn't control, my environment and growing up that just make me go, yucky. I don't like that. That shouldn't occur. And then your argument's done because what I'm trying to get to at the beginning is that if you're going to grant
my argument done.
I'm trying to elucidate that if you just give me a second, right? If you at the outset you just go, okay, well it's not, the view isn't true, so there isn't like a truth maker that makes those moral facts stance independently true, right? Like Yahweh or Jesus or Allah or whatever it might be, right? If there's nothing that is the truth maker for those propositions being true, then they're not stance independently true. All you are saying is, I think that everybody else should follow these rules, but you're not going to establish some stance independent. Like I have a reason over and above reasons I have. Even if I think I shouldn't get the milk, I should get the fucking milk. I'm wrong about not eating milk. I should get the fucking milk because there's a fact about what I should and should not do. If your argument is just giving up on that,
you have a true claim.
So hold on. I want you to repeat back what you think my concern is.
It's just preference. So like your preference has no moral responsibility over my preference. So like
I'm going to jump in with a clarification to make sure I understand, JMike. So here's my question to you. This is what I think we wanted to ask you, which is, you say we ought to. We're saying, why ought we?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay.
What set of rules?
I understand. Like you guys are being.
No, real quick. This is super important. This is just super important. If you're just telling me at the beginning that Christianity is not true, then there's no Yahweh, right? There's nothing that makes the propositions true. They're called truth makers in philosophy, right? It's not like Yahweh doesn't exist, so he can't be a truth maker that makes some moral proposition true, right? So it can't be a moral fact. So all you have left is just, I think that we should all follow this stuff. And then all I have to say is, I don't fucking care about that because I have a different assessment. There's psychological facts facts about my brain that make me go, I don't want to do that. I don't think we should do that. And then the argument's over after that point, because what are you going to do? You would have to run some like internal critique on values I have. And I guarantee you're not going to be able to pull out Christianity out of the values that I have.
So Alan, do you understand where we're coming from and what we're asking?
So I don't. There was a beep. Can you hear me?
We can. The reason you got a beep is you kept interrupting, and we were trying to get to this point. So the question is,
Yahweh doesn't exist. It's just like your opinion, man.
Why ought we? Where are you getting the ought?
Like you asked me a question, so like I'll clarify, right? So your preference,
Alan, just wait. Okay, let us finish the question. This is a long process. This is not TikTok back and forth 6-second things. We're trying to understand you so we can ask the question and then let you explain it. So our question to you is, absent Yahweh, absent God, if you're conceding that for the purposes of this thing, then why ought we follow the Bible, or for that purpose make any moral conclusion? So why ought we?
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
the reason that I prefer it.
Okay.
That's okay. Well, your argument sucks. I don't prefer it. Done. Your argument's not going to establish that we should be Christian nationalists.
But like we can get into it. But like, well, why? How is your argument better than mine?
I prefer that we not be Christian nationalist. Boom. I did the same thing you did. I just go.
Yeah, exactly. Hold on.
Yeah. So there's nothing that has normative force over any agent to be part of that system. Do you not connect those dots? No one is going to feel the force that they ought do those things, buddy.
Do you have?
I understand. You were talking the whole time I said that. The reason it matters is for the same reason when I say I don't think we should have a Christian nationalist approach. All the other Christians that are going, is that just like your opinion? And I go, yeah, right. It's just my opinion. There's a way to perform that, right? I can get into their values and show that they don't actually want this thing. Now it's a hard thing to do, but I'm gonna have to like ask about their values and and then finally find something that goes, hey, this is contradictory to Christian values. It's gonna be much harder to do that with me. Right? Very hard to do that with me as somebody who like you don't have a roadmap for what my values even are, right? Whereas I can tell things that are contradictory in your own view that you value.
Okay, I want to level set and turn the mic over to Alan. So Alan, I'm going to level set here. Our current understanding of where we are in this conversation is we're going to assume for the purposes of this conversation there is no God. And you have asserted, if we're understanding you correctly, that we ought to institute some form of Christian nationalism or follow the Bible or however you want to do it, because when we asked why, it was because you like it, you wanted it. Is that correct? And if so,
yep.
Why should we follow it just because you like it?
Well, we can get into that. So that's what I was trying to get to. So like one thing that we need to do is change back the definition of property actually makes a foundational misstep that a lot of people, especially in the atheist community, has a problem with. So we need to get back to the ancient
this is just more
definition.
Hold on.
It's just more shoulds.
Hey, can you actually, let me make an argument and then we can talk.
I'm waiting for the argument. Go ahead.
They're freaking out all the time because it's something wrong with you.
I'm sorry that you're so unaware. I'm sorry you're so self-unaware. You don't realize you're just packing on more shoulds on top of the shoulds you haven't justified.
I think where he's getting, and I want to let him get there, I think he's getting to some sort of utilitarian argument that we should do it because following it is better for something. Is that your argument? That if we follow property law, biblical property law, things will be better. And if we follow the 10 Commandments, things will be better. Is that your argument?
So if you actually let me finish my argument, then we could start from there because we need to start.
We'll put a minute on the clock. Producers, throw the minute on there. I'll mute my mic, but just stop saying things that don't do the thing you're purporting to do.
I want to let you talk, Alan. Go ahead and tell me why. Now, I'm going to warn you, you dove right into a specific thing rather than talking generally. What the question we asked you was why we should do a thing because you want to. You started talking about property law in the Bible, but go ahead.
We can address that. So why are you better than I am? Or are we not living in a democracy where we should talk about our opinions and better opinions actually win out? Yes or no?
Questions are not arguments.
You've got 60, we put 60 seconds on the clock. Keep going. I want you to make your case.
Questions aren't arguments. Give propositions, statements.
So the first thing that we would need to do is change back to the fundamental understanding of property before the Enlightenment, which was it's a perspective change. So to start the argument, you have to understand that when we have property, is not owned by anybody. When you have possession of something, you have duties and responsibilities to that property. Okay, and what happened in John Locke's, who's the one that started property rights, is the one that it's a perspective change where property has a duty to us to make us money or whatever it is. But we need to get back to the premises of that. When we have possession of something, we have duties and responsibilities to that.
So, That's over your 60 seconds. I don't see, first of all, I disagree with that. Second of all, I don't see how that answers the question at all. Like, it's like I'm trying to be generous and understand where you're coming from. But the question was, why should we do something just because you like it?
Exactly.
And then you told me that because
not a democracy?
Will you please?
You're not making.
All right. Well, it's not a democracy here. I think you're very confused about the nature of this show. My argument is not that we should do what I want because I want it. I need you to understand that. I've muted him, obviously. This person's not got some issues. We would try to
find common values, which I probably fully represented, to show somebody like, hey, there's kind of an entailment here that you probably should care about these because you care about A, B, and C, and D seems to kind of follow from those things, right? Like you don't like me.
What I'm looking for.
You don't like me pushing you. I don't like you pushing me. We seem to care about well-being of each other, right? Or at least yourself. If I push your daughter, you wouldn't like that, right? So like we probably have common values we can extract from that. So it's not just this is my opinion, man. I'm building a secular humanistic society we care about the humans and what they have to say and their values and trying to to establish kind of common ground with what we have, right? Like you can't just do that out of thin air and go, this is what I think. You need to pull it. You need to have the conversation. But if your argument is just, this is what I think, that's not really going to fly, right?
Yeah, and we should clarify, Alan, you're dealing with a false dichotomy. When I say, when I'm poking flaws or holes, what I perceive as holes in your argument, that is not the same as me saying, therefore we should do what I want. Right? You've multiple times you said, when I say, why should we just do something because you want it? And then you scream back at us, does that, well, why should we do something because you want it? That's not me making the argument. Okay. I don't make arguments that say, when people ask me, why should we do X in the government or whatever? I don't say because I want to. I give reasons. And that's what we're asking of you is reasons. So when we say the only reason you've given us so far to do this general thing of follow Christianity in our national government, the only reason you've cited in our over 10-minute call now is because I want it to be that way. And then when we asked for why we should care about what you want, you started talking about under different views of property law or morality, different entities have different duties depending on which way you look at it. And that doesn't, I don't know about you, JMike, that does not explain to me why we should do what Alan wants. Let's put it this way, Alan. If you were a politician saying, I want you to vote for my bill, why should we do what you want to do in your bill? When we make it Alan-topia and you get to propose a bill, why should we do what you want should we do what we want just because you say it's what you want? I guess that's my question. What are your thoughts, Alan?
Yeah, so I can go in because I believe it produces better results. Okay,
that's a great answer. Now, what results does it produce? This is where I was going with the utilitarianism, right? So what result does it produce, Christian nationalism as a whole, that is better, that is demonstrably better, that should convince people to do this thing?
Yeah, and I worry because better assumes...
Let Alan...
Yeah.
Like all you guys are doing is prattling. So like if you ask me a question, let me answer it. So like to start off with, I think that Christian family values are better than secular family values.
Okay, let's put a stop on that. That's a great point.
The question. Yeah.
So yeah. Let's take it. That's your first go-to answer as to what's the better result. And you said, I think that family values from the following Christian is better than presumably anything else. So as Mike pointed out, you're kind of betting the question, but let's pull on that thread. What are the outcomes of what are Christian family values, first of all, and how is that why are those a better policy?
So like to clarify, so we can do that. So it should be a marriage between one man, one woman, and you should have kids. Are you gonna?
You should have kids. Okay.
Answer, or are you gonna like? No, are you gonna
just
keep talking?
Well, no. Let's
hold on. I'm muting Alan. Hold on, Mike. We got to give him some time here. I've asked him for an answer, and he was listing the answers, and I want to give him his fair shake. So we started with.
He's just going to list things that assume Christianity.
I know, but we got to let him list them so we can then ask him about them. So
he listed 3 that all assume Christianity's values.
So, well, that's his point. So, Mike, Alan, what I heard so far was, restrict marriage to man and woman. You quote unquote should have children. What were the next ones?
Yeah, and a woman should prioritize having children.
Okay. Anything else? Anything else? Yeah, those are good 3. Let's start with those 3. Okay. Start with those 3. As Mike is pointing out, I'll hand it over to Mike. This is sort of just more assertions that these are good things. Why are those good things? So I'm going to ask Alan first and then turn it over to Mike. Alan, let's start with marriages between a man and a woman. Why is that a should? Why should we do that?
Because we should be having children.
That's not the question.
Hold on, no, stop.
No. You answered. It's our show. I'm going to turn over to Mike. Does that mean that people who are infertile cannot have?
Oh my God!
He's done. He's done.
I want to ask him this.
Okay, all right. I'll let you ask him. But our question was,
Alan, he's really low on the IQ spectrum here. If you think that you have never thought,
hominins, like really?
No, no. And look, first off, an insult, right, is not an ad hominem. If someone called me a douchebag, that's not an ad hominem. That's just an insult. An ad hom is like, learn what an ad hom is. You have to give an argument to ad hom. I'm not giving an argument. So I'm not ad homing you. I'm just saying, look, have you never thought of this when you say we should be having women? So you think that women that are infertile, they're doing something wrong in the world? That's what you think?
No, I think his proposal is if women are infertile, they should not be allowed to get married. Is that what you're saying, Alan?
If a car doesn't work, is it still?
You're not going to answer the question.
Oh my God. It doesn't work. What, you think women have a role to be incubators?
Gas in a car, is it still a car? Yes or no?
You're a fucking idiot. You're a fucking idiot. Look,
I'm dropping this call.
Your view is that women are incubators. I would love to see how many women are actually interested in you in your life, because you are fucking deplorable. No. I'll take heat for this. I don't give a fuck. You are a piece of shit. Go fuck yourself. You are a giant piece of shit. I'll take heat. Anyone wants to give me shit for this, that's fine. Fuck yourself. That's garbage. It's such garbage. Why did we entertain that for that much time? Oh, here's the recap, everybody. Oh, I assume Christianity's value. I have no argument that does anything other than assume the values in contention. But at the end of it, I'm going to say that I'm a misogynistic piece of shit that thinks that women are incubators and that if you're infertile, you're getting facts wrong about the world. Fuck you.
I can't say that I disagree with you. Let's put it that way. I will add to that. The reason that I like to let those calls go on is twofold. One, again, I'm a rubber hits the road guy. This is a rising sentiment on the conservative right, and it is a real threat to American democracy. He is not wrong when he is saying that these concepts underlie the concept of Christian nationalism in the United States. This is what we are seeing. An increase, especially amongst young people who were raised on Joe Rogan and now Nick Fuentes. There's an open debate amongst conservatives. There's an open debate amongst conservatives in the United States as to whether Nazism should be allowed amongst their circle. Like, that's an public debate that's happening. And this is the stuff that's fueling the fire. So rather than cut it off, I do like to give it some oxygen so people can hear how vacuous it is. Like, I can't agree with you more, JMike. We started with, okay, why? And his answer was, because I like it. And then when we said, why do you like it? He proceeded to talk about property law and all that stuff. And I was waiting for him to go back. My question was going to be, okay, well, under the Bible, women are property. That's, rape is a property crime under the Bible. Is that what you're talking about? It's not a low chance that I think he would have said yes. And I was trying to get to that point. But that's why I like to give this air, and people should be aware of this. This is one of the reasons I do what I do. Is this is not uncommon. Like, you go amongst certain conservatives groups, this is being preached from the pulpit. This is being preached in the halls of Congress. This is being preached everywhere as an illogical rationale for why we should do something. And the code, the answer, reading below the surface, is because I, as a male, a theoretically voting male, property owning male, whatever, want it, which is what he said. And it's infuriating. I agree with you. I totally agree with you. It's despicable. Go ahead.
And by the way, for the caller, if they're still listening, your reasonings were like, let's just assume you never said that. Your entire argument was assuming the values in question and just going, I think I prefer that.
Right.
And you knew that you couldn't even give an argument. Like, you were, in my opinion, as it seems expected upon the hypothesis of somebody terrified to have Christianity be true as part of their argument. He wanted to do this weird thing where, let's just say it's not true. I just think that's expected upon the hypothesis that somebody's terrified to justify their position outright, right? That you have to like kind of be like, well, I think the values are good. I can't actually argue for the position at all. That would actually be the truth maker for those moral facts.
Right.
You gave up at the beginning of your call. You gave up.
I was
in the history of the worst argument anyone's ever told me, ever.
I was waiting. I was trying to almost steel man a little bit. I was waiting for us to get to that focus on the family level of argument.
Graham, yeah, sorry. You're so much more calmer than me. I was pissed off the second that guy started. I was like, oh my God.
I'm not saying your approach is better or worse. I'm just trying to explain, like, I was waiting for a sophisticated, like, oh, he's just bad at telling us how we got there. But the argument is the shit that we heard in the Supreme Court arguments for gay marriage, right? Yeah. Like, every single argument went back at the end to because the Bible says so. Only people that can procreate. Okay, so infertile people can't get married. People who are not willing to have kids can't get married. Like, that all gets shot down, and you're left with, I don't like it. It's creepy, and the Bible says so. And I was waiting for that level of utilitarianism. There's more disease, there's like mental health, we don't want them to raise, like, all of these arguments have been litigated and shot down as being just, I believe in Yahweh. And that's why we have gay marriage in the United States now, is because the conservative Supreme Court still at that time said, well, that's not a good reason to deny somebody civil rights. So that's been adjudicated. I was waiting for something more, some other broader, like something you'd see from PragerU, bullshit propaganda about why staying at home is a good thing for the economy or something. But it's just, I want baby makers.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Like, I can't believe somebody walks around with a head like that on their shoulders, but whatever.
Well, yeah, I started wondering about trolling at the end there because of the sheer fury that was going on. I hope that he's okay. We do have other calls. I wanted to take a few announcements here while we sort of come down off of that parachute ride. I wish the best for you, and I can tell you what I mean by the best or better, and that's you to give up these garbage bullshit values and join the rest of society that cares about another. You fucking oh man. All right, so if you like what we do, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Giving to our Patreon ensures our ability to continue to produce the content that you love. You can visit tiny.cc/PatreonAXP to do that. Another way to support us is by sending super chats. Get them in and we will read as many as we can. Become a channel member for as little as 99 cents a month. You can click the join button below the video, and this will give you access to special chat emojis and early access to YouTube's shorts and clips. And finally, the people who have been putting up with us for so long, we want to send a big thank you out to the crew who put this show together every single week. We've got video operators, audio operators, note takers, call screeners, chat moderators. Look at the full house we have tonight. Thank you so much, everybody, for being involved. We cannot do this without you. JMike and I just show up and lose our minds at these callers, and you guys actually have to make it technically work. Let's see. I thought I saw some super chats below. we did get one, $5 from Dr. Fudge. Tip for the JMike anti-misogyny rant. Hell yeah. Way to go, JMike.
Oh, sweet. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
That was could have been maybe handled better. I realize in hindsight, but no.
I applaud your passion. I do. My criticism when you go out and you try to avoid comments, but one of my criticisms is always like how is this guy so level-headed? But I lose it. I do. I get off of this and I go talk to my wife and she's
it's like when you talk to 100 different people on TikTok or Discord or whatever a week and you hear this shit, it boils over. By Sunday, it boils over completely, and then you're just like, all right. So over this. Well,
we have another one, JMike. It's effective. Lose the Dogma donated $10. First time I witnessed JMike justifiably lose it. Now there's an implication here, JMike.
There is. It means that every time I've lost it, it was just totally unjustified.
Thank you for defending us women.
Right interpretation is that I probably lost it unjustifiably.
Right. Yeah. Oh, thanks everybody for those donations. Keep them coming with those super chats. They're great. Much. We have another caller. We have John Him from New York who wants to discuss humanism. Why don't we jump over there? John, what would you like to discuss about humanism?
Yes, hello. It's the first time I listened to Atheist Experience in a while, so it was a nice coincidence that I heard your organization has joined a humanist organization. And so I just wanted to call in and ask your thoughts about it. How do you look at humanism, and who have you read and so on? And I'd like to mention who I read, my favorite authors and so on.
I'll turn it over to JMike first. He's very well versed in all the sort of isms.
The isms. Well, maybe I'm wanting to understand more of what you're saying, because you're saying like who we've read specifically, and then what was the other one?
Who you read, or just how you would even say define it, or anything at all in general you'd want to say about it, because my point is I'm just glad it's got brought up tonight.
Okay, so why don't we start? I'm going to prompt you, Mike, for our listeners. What's your definition of humanism?
Well, that's the things I don't like. I can give you like term usage on what I mean by things, but what I would prefer to do is like read off the very specific kind of mission statement that aligns with my values. I'm sure a lot of you are probably familiar with that. So I don't know if you want to
go ahead.
If you want to, well, I have to pull it up. So you're gonna have to vamp. Yeah, you have to vamp for. I don't memorize these kind of things, but.
So are you talking about the ACA's points?
Well, yeah, but there's a general like secular kind of humanist mission statement that I've seen shared that I really enjoy. So I want to pull that up real quick.
Okay, well, he's pulling that up. I'll tell you my point of view. Yeah. Humanism is the idea that we should all strive to increase well-being. That's one aspect for me, for my definition of humanism. And the reason I ask for definitions is everybody uses terms differently. So that we should generally try to enact policies and take actions that increase human well-being. And then we can have arguments about the definition of well-being, but that it should be independent of unprovable assertions, right? That humanism is human-centric. It is focused on those things, policies and moral actions that are based on facts and not fiction or wishes, right? So when I go to my lawmakers, I want to hear them say, all of the facts point to this is happening. We have a political debate as to whether we want that number to go up or down. It's a bad thing, a good thing. And then we enact policies that logic and science and reason tell us will make that number go in the direction that we want it to go, because we believe that will have a net increase in human well-being. So that's my take. What about you, JMike? Oh, I think you're muted possibly there, JMike.
That's
there
right.
You go. You're back.
Yeah, I said mission statement. I guess I was thinking of like the wrong word here. The Humanist Manifesto. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Sorry,
okay.
I don't know why I couldn't think of that. So I would agree with everything, and well-being that you said. I mean, I would tack on kind of the conversation about well-being to that, and what we actually kind of mean by that.
Yeah, I said we
gets,
can all argue about what the meaning is. That's the politics of things, right?
And I was gonna say that might not be like maybe the best thing to do here, but I mean, I don't agree with like Sam Harris's kind of like realism about like he thinks it's kind of an immoral object. Everything he says content-wise, I agree. I just don't think it's a form of realism. So I'm very in line with that kind of thought on well-being if people are kind of familiar with like the moral landscape. I don't think it's I think it's a really bad book for an argument for moral realism. It's a really good book if you take out the realism part, because I think Sam's wrong about that being a form of moral realism or objective morality. I think he's totally off about that and confused. But if you're not a realist like me, or like a subjectivist or whatever, I think that's actually a really good book to kind of look at these kind of highs and peaks and valleys and of well-being. But I will say on the American Humanist.org, if you type in, if you're interested, because I'm not going to waste everybody's time reading all this, but it has been updated, I know, a couple different times. The American Humanist Association has a manifesto. I think something else that I don't know if it's the same one. But
there's the latest one is just 6 bullet points, and I've got them up if you want me to just read them.
Yeah, that's the one I'm looking for. Yeah, thank you. Yep.
So first, knowledge of the world is derived by observation, experimentation, and rational analysis. So this is empiricism, scientific method, and all of that. So basically, that's what I was saying with, I don't base my policy on stuff that I can't observe and prove. 2, humans are an integral part of nature, the result of evolutionary change, an unguided process. 3, ethical values are derived from human need and the interest as tested by experience. So this goes to well-being, human well-being. Life's fulfillment, this is 4, life's fulfillment emerges from individual participation in the service of humane ideals. It doesn't mean in service of humans, but in the service of humane ideals. 5, humans are social by nature and find meaning in relationships. And 6, working to benefit society maximizes individual happiness. Now that is working in the whole from a policy perspective. It's not saying you, the individual, must work to benefit society. We're saying that enacting policies that benefit society maximizes individual happiness. I agree with those 6 bullet points to various levels of degreeing, but they're all fairly high agreement.
I'm so glad you said it that way, because that's actually what I want to say. Was that I didn't. Was it 2 about the humanism?
Humans are integral part of nature.
Yes,
the result of evolutionary change.
That to me is like it wasn't a crucial part of my humanism to like be a naturalist or something like that.
Right.
But it's like various degrees. I'll agree with you, but like that one kind of struck out to me where I was like, oh, okay, so like they're like, I don't feel like this kind of weird guy that's like a humanist and a naturalist that's like, I don't think gods exist. And I just think that kind of second point is an important point. You don't have to have this perspective that I have to be a humanist, where like you're a metaphysical naturalist, perhaps, if you want to call it that. I don't really like the term, but I think people know what I'm saying when I use that term, so I use that term. You could be way down and just like on this, like, I really am a fence sitter, but I'm a humanist. And like, it doesn't, there's different, I think it's important what Graham said of these kind of various degrees of that. It's like if you're someone that's like, oh, I'm not a metaphysical naturalist, like that's not really important. As long as you gather on the other kind of, components. But I want to give it back to John because I'm wasting all this time. I'm knocking over my shit while I do this. Let me act real cool.
How you doing, John? So what are your takes on all of that? Does that fit in with your vision? And what is your vision, John?
Well, a lot of that you said is very good and interesting. And the term I was thinking of when you were talking about well-being, the term humanists use that I like is human flourishing. That seems to bring a lot of clarity to it for me, what the point is, the goal of it. When you use the word flourishing, that seems to really capture it for me.
Absolutely. And you can apply that word to both individuals and groups, right? Your individual flourishing and possibly groups of people are flourishing as well.
Yeah, I feel like there's like, oh, sorry, John, go ahead.
Well, the other thing I want to mention is about the authors. Or have you read any books or anything along those lines?
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to ask. That's what I wanted to ask you about, was kind of what you read, because I don't even in philosophy, one thing I really don't really care about in general is the kind of meta-ethical or ethics discussion, applied ethics or normative ethics. I engage in it with like friends and read a little, but it's so boring to me a lot of times. So I don't even dive in that much. I don't read any like humanist authors that I would define as like a humanist author. I do have a book that I enjoy. It's like called a Secular Value and Humanism in a Godless World or something. I have it on my shelf somewhere. I'll have to find it. But that's one of the only ones. I can't remember that author, but I really enjoyed that book. But it's a very like anti-realist. It doesn't assume any kind of realism. And it's where I've derived an example I've used on the show about kind of the example he kind of uses in the book is talking about like this kind of intrinsic value, whether or not you think there's like real value in the world, but like things that we project on value. We say like, this is valuable, that person's valuable. There's this notion that you recognize kind of what's within those objects or like what's going on in that scenario. Like the example that I've kind of made up is if you were to throw like a baby off of a building, we'll go this philosophy. So go to your major extreme here. If you're a Christian and there's no God in that world, do you think anything wrong occurred? Like anything that makes you feel a certain way? Like at least do you feel like, man, that shouldn't have been done, or I don't know about that. Even if God's going, throw the baby off the building. There's like two ways people can kind of answer this. They can go, well, look, God deemed it, and so there's nothing actually wrong. It's this external force that's kind of put on it, as opposed to what's really going on. And I think a common key that or theme he points out in the book is this idea that humanists are really concerned not with this extrinsic kind of the good salt or the bad salt that's sprinkled upon things like, you know, religious believers are, that kind of imbue that scenario with either being good or wrong based on the whim of an agent. But everybody who's a humanist in that scenario is going to analyze the intrinsic actions of what's going on, regardless if they're a realist or an anti-realist. They're going to look at that and go, yeah, that shouldn't have been done because there's a victim, right? There's people's like, that might ruin relationships going down the line. You know, it might tarnish people's well-being that weren't even the baby, right? And so I think that book was very insightful for me to kind of take my kind of notion of humanism and then kind of use that against Christians and just going, well, look, the only thing that you care about is this extrinsic force that's like, you know, the good salt or the bad salt. Without that salt, like you couldn't actually look at the world and say that thing shouldn't occur. You don't actually care about the intrinsic actions of anything. You only care if there's extrinsic force put on it. And so that's I'll try to get the book. Maybe if I can solo on Graham for a second, I can go to my shelf and look for it. But
sure, I'll ask John. Hey, John, what is your take on that from Mike?
I understand how it feels about how when you really get into it that way, like a technical philosophy with morality, how it's not very attractive, engaging for a lot of people. Some people it is. Some people really enjoy that type of thing. But I could see if the point is, well, what's going to be appealing to the broadest audience, which is what we'd want, right? If we're talking about humanism, well, what is appealing to the most people? And if we're talking,
if you want to propose it to the world, I'm sorry, if you want to promote it, then yes, absolutely, go ahead. You do want to appeal to people. Go ahead.
Yeah, you want a wider net for sure. Yeah.
Right. So that when that's the point, I absolutely agree with that you'd want to make. And the good thing is, I think with you can definitely do that. You can present it in a way where it's not going to be too technical in any way, overwhelming. I find the opposite. There's definitely a very accessible way to present it where people will understand it.
Yeah.
You can also,
would I say I have that talent? Mm-hmm. Not necessarily, but I try.
I know I don't have that talent.
You should. You can do it small and large. So the example I give sometimes in this is, I don't remember how long ago this was. It was a while ago, 15 years maybe. There was a senator or congressman. I think it was a senator. Was it really a senator? It had to be a representative on a committee for science and technology. And they were holding hearings and hearing from witnesses on global warming. And this particular congressman opened up a Bible and read the passage from Noah where it says God promised he would never flood the world again. That's the rainbow that reminds us he will never flood the world again. And then said to the room, and therefore the United States should not spend any money on even researching the impact of global warming. That was the argument that was made. And my point about secular humanism is it's the opposite of that, right? All you have to do is say, okay, that we agree. We're not going to say Christianity is wrong. We're just going to agree that that's not a good way to make public policy. We want fact-based public policy that is science-based, that can go out and find what the best levers are to pull on regulations and taxes and money spent and zoning and all of those things to try to, as you said in your word, help people flourish. And just looking at a book that says it won't ever happen again, despite what some scientists are saying, is not a good reason to turn it off. So for me, secular humanism has two ends. One, it's the best way we've come up with so far to sort of figure out what policies are, because it relies so heavily on the scientific method. And two, it avoids any one particular religion being able to come in and say, my holy book says we need to do X, therefore, like our last caller, my holy book says women are property and baby makers, therefore women are property and baby makers, go make it so. Did you find your book, Mike?
I did online. It's called Meaning and Value in a Secular Age. I never understood how to say this, why you praxophy matters, but it really just is like this idea of good practice and wisdom. But it's kind of like you can view it as something as an addition to kind of secular humanism. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good book. And when I look online, it says it's based on, I'm never going to be able to, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Secularism, the basics. It's kind of, I guess, an extension of that or something.
Right.
But it was the first, one of the first books I ever got when I was getting into philosophy on the kind of the ethical side. And so I don't know if it'll stand out for a lot of other people, but it's a really easy read. So.
What's your experience, John, in your area, talking with your friends? What are you seeing as far as the reasons that people want various policies to be enacted? Like, are you seeing shifts in your communities moving towards humanism, away from humanism?
Well, that's the reason I wanted to call in to talk about it, because I don't usually have people to talk to about it. I'm not part of any community, not in person. So
Sure.
Just online things. And there's some good things online that I do interact with people, but it's not, it's not an everyday thing. But I'd like to make it more frequent than that way, but I haven't so far really done it, made it an everyday thing with other people, talking to other people.
Have you looked online for meetup groups or whatever? Because I know when I've searched some, they'll do some on Sundays around my area. They're a little far and few between, but you can find some kind of group that usually meets up and discusses these things, and it might scratch that kind of itch for you.
Yeah, I should look into that, but I want to also talk about the author. The one that how I found humanism was Paul Kurtz. He was a college professor. For years, he was a professor up in Buffalo, and I did go up there one time, and I got to meet him. So it was a great experience. So he's a key person. He's wrote a lot of books. So if we just want to mention one author that I recommend, he's been referred to as the father of American Humanism. So he's definitely the right person for anybody listening. If you want to know where to start with which author, which books, he has more than a dozen books. And he has one, the term you mentioned, eupraxophy, he wrote a book that specifically.
Okay. Oh, sweet. Awesome.
Yeah, I just looked up his biography. Wow.
Who was it again?
Kurtz, K-U-R-T-Z.
Are you mentioning Kurtz? John, I missed
John
that.
is mentioning Kurtz.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the same author. Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. I'm glad I happened to pick out that one that you suggest, because that was kind of I was at some books. I don't remember what the bookstore was called, but they sold guitars there too, branded by the bookstore, and I was so thrown off by that. I was like, the bookstore guitars? What the heck is this? But hey, start them while they're at the bookstore. That's what I always say. Start them rocking at the bookstore.
Excellent. Well, John, I will echo. Go ahead. Sorry, John.
He wrote one, or did somebody else? It's sort of like a best of called Embracing the Power of Humanism. So if you can find that one, and a lot of his books are also in the electronic form, but not all of them. And I don't think that one is yet. So that might be a hard to find book now, but if you can get that one, that's a great one to start with, Embracing the Power of Humanism. It's sort of like a summary of all his other, like a best of. So that's a great one to get if you can get one.
Yeah, I was looking online to see. I had no idea who Kurtz was. I just kind of stumbled upon this, which was great. This says it was released in 2012, so at least the one that I got. But definitely look out for that. I need to read more on that. I've been really just heavily philosophy of religion for a while, and the one break that I kind of took from it, I went on TikTok and was just debating transphobes the whole time, and just man, it's like the most frustrating, but also the most like easy thing to like they never get it, they never understand it, but it's always like, God, man, like I don't have to think to explain this to you. How do you not not understand this? Like I can take things that I don't even get into this right now. But yeah, I can take things that you believe and show you that you don't even deploy the concepts that you think you are. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, John, thank you so much. I did not know about Paul Kurtz. I'm going to go out and read him. Looking at this biography, I mean, he founded places like the Center for Inquiry, like a big thing. So
he's from what I heard, he's a pretty big deal in that. I just don't know anything other than this book. And
I will definitely look him up. Thank you so much, John. And I will echo Mike's suggestion. I did in the past go to some meetups that were local to me way back in the day, and it actually got me participating in a few things. One thing that came out of it, there used to be this organization, I think they're still around. It was called Sunday Assembly. It was an attempt to have a secular humanist sort of social gathering, ritualistic social gathering that scratches that itch that a lot of ex-Christians have, or ex-Muslims may have, where they want to come together for a quote unquote church-like experience, but they didn't want the God layer put on top of that. They just wanted to say, here's how we can do good things to help the community. And I got involved in that for a while. I even had one of the founders, I forget his name, Paul, it's been years now, but he came over and came to dinner at my house, and we had a meeting of people who were interested in starting that in the local area, just because I reached out on a internet meetup. I think it was Meetup, but this was like 15 years ago. I don't know if that existed, and just got involved for a while. And then life happened. I had kids and all that stuff, and I got uninvolved for a while, and then I got involved again. So I would really encourage you. I found it very satisfying to just be around other people and talk. And the most refreshing part is they were not all of the same exact opinion, right? We all agreed generally, but there were subtle things that we disagreed on, and that's refreshing and not so much allowed in many religious circles. So I would encourage you to pursue that. All right. Anything else on your side, JMike, for John?
No, I did have a.
I was just asking if Mike had any more questions for you before we moved on.
No, I did have something, and I had brain fart, and I lost whatever I had. So I'm actually kind of mad about that right now.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks so much for calling, John. I really appreciate it. I really hope you have a nice day. It was nice to discuss this with you.
Thanks. I'd like to call in again soon, not very soon. I know I shouldn't, but I'd like to call in.
Anytime you want. Always welcome to chat. Each of us, we've got sort of a stable of hosts. Each of us host about once a month or so. So pick and choose who you'd like to chat with. And if you have any experiences you can share with people about your attempts to get involved, I'm sure that would be useful for a lot of our listeners. We get a lot of calls and emails and people talking on our Discord about, I feel like I can't get involved. And it's for one of several reasons. One, I'm closeted atheist or secularist, or however they want to describe it, agnostic. I'm closeted in my community. I live in Smallsville, USA, and you cannot come out of that closet lest you lose your babysitter. You lose your position on the school council. You can't get somebody to mow your lawn anymore. It's like for practical reasons, they will be shunned. So that's one reason people don't get involved. The other is they have this false impression that they're the only one in church in the pews that is going, I don't believe this stuff right now. And they think they're their only one in their community that doesn't believe. But when they reach out anonymously and find local meetups and they go to those meetups, they find, oh, wow, there are people in my community that really have these concerns about, I don't want to be believing things that aren't true. So how can we prevent that? And I want my government to be focused on facts and not suspiciously motivated fiction. So there's lots of different reasons people don't get involved, and it can be just feeling like you're isolated. So I would encourage it. It was a big event, life-changing for me as well.
Very good.
Yeah,
Thank you. That's definitely a very valuable point to make.
Thanks a lot, John.
Thanks, John.
Okay,
Yeah, you mentioned Graham, the kind of community thing there, and my only taste of that, because I didn't have this community I was part of as like a Christian, then now ex-Christian or anything. But man, I can tell you how fucking disappointed and sad I was when we had this stupid lottery kind of tax thing happen, and something lumped in where it affected coin operated machines. So my pinball league that had a nice place and community for me to hang out with my homies at pinball league, that got shut down because of this law. I couldn't pay over the overhead was like way too much to justify it. And so I lost the community, and I sat there and I thought, man, this is so small. I'm like going to cry. This is so small in comparison to wow, I just lost my best friend Jesus that didn't actually exist, apparently,
Yeah. People can go through real, we get calls all the time of people who lose community, whether it's religious based or not, who feel like anxiety, PTSD, anxious nightmares, all sorts of stuff. And so it's like that bullet point in the secular manifesto said, humans are social creatures, and that matters. So if you need to seek out community, jump on our Discord, go look up the new affiliation we have with the American Humanist Association, get involved locally. And it may be that you just make a connection with one person out of trying 10 times. And that's more than enough, that you're like, hey, let's go clean up trash somewhere. Let's go donate food, whatever it may be. And then you just have some interesting conversations, and that turns into board game night. Who knows? But go for it and see what happens.
Terraforming Mars. Sorry. if you know, you know.
I do know.
Yeah, if you know, you know. I think we talked about this. Did we briefly talk about? I don't know.
I'm a heavy board gamer.
I thought so. I thought we talked about it, because I thought we talked about the all-day kind of setup of Terraforming Mars, and you have to be
just
really
played
dedicated.
Shadows of Brimstone for 6 hours yesterday with a monthly shed, say a Cowboys versus Cthulhu type of Ameritrash, roll and shoot game, and it's a lot of fun. It's good. But the thing I enjoy about it, to our point, is I don't care what we're playing. I just like being with people.
If you like I'm not the biggest board game person in the world. I'm ignorant to a lot, but I know if you enjoy it, you really enjoy it. So I know that you probably enjoyed all 6 hours of that. So.
I sure did. Excellent. All right. Well, JMike, I really appreciate you being here. As you know, when we have these shows, we always have a backup host, and I thought we would try to bring out our backup host, Jamie, if he's lurking there. Jamie. How are you doing? Blind limey?
The backup host is EP Sleepy. He's had a long day of listening to fallacious arguments and needs his nappy wappy. He's eating some sleevies, and he's just a little guy who's doing his best. Anyway.
I heard you're not even supposed to be here, Jamie, but that's just a bird.
Apologies to excellent and far more awesome host than me, John Gleason, the Goalless engineer, who was supposed to be the backup chair, and I basically accidentally stole it by being an idiot.
Jamie elbowed him and said, I'm going to be here.
To be fair, you would have to actually leave location to swap, and John's just got to kind of close out, and then I try to say this John, go edit a video now or something, right? So I'm trying to make Jamie feel a little better.
But anyway, quickly on this, to Alan, I want to get meta on that one, because of course his thing was ridiculous. But I'm a kind of on Graham's wavelength here. I'm very much I let them spool out their own rope and hang them by it with a good decisive strike. But it's more the whole. What is he hoping to get out of this conversation? Does he actually think we're gonna get on board with any of this, or is it just grandstanding? And there's just this impasse about like what was even his point in calling. As for the conversation about humanism, it's the best philosophy I've encountered. I didn't really have a name for these feelings and thoughts of morality and how to go about interacting with the universe until I really started getting involved with the atheist community of Austin, and it became sort of codified and more easily identified and more easily taught. It was great. And I see you're terraforming Mars, and I raise you an all-day game of Eclipse Second Dawn next time you two are in Austin. That really is an all-day board game. It's got 577 pieces.
Yeah, that's right. I think you told me about this when I was in Austin, because I was like, that sounds excessive, but I'm down.
I've got the player mat and the expansion, so you're on.
Oh shit! Graham's really into it.
I am into it.
Is your pantry full of board games? Like someone I know that I walked into their house and opened up their pantry, and it was all board games.
I'll send you a picture, an embarrassing picture of the multiple Kalaxes I have of board games, and I ended up. I have instructions on Board Game Geek on how, like, I built my own game table and put instructions up, and the headline was, "Guy who's never done carpentry built a game table for under $500," and I've been doing that for 14, 15 years now, and I think it's great. I think A, community, B, keeps your mind busy, so when you get old and feeble, you'll be exercising your mind, and C, you can do it until you're dead. Basically, you don't have to. It's not like the volleyball I used to play; it would kill your knees. It really is, and there's something for everybody. Role playing, card games, board games. There is a lot of people who end up playing board games in the community, and it's a great way to have conversations. Here at the
Free Thought Library, go on Meetup. We have games nights. They're currently being rejigged a little bit to make them a little bit more accessible and thematic. But yeah, if you like playing with card and plastic and cardboard, here's the place to do it.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jamie, for being our backup. And thank you so much, Mike, for being the wonderful host you always are. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I always look forward to hosting with Mike because he has this perspective that nobody else pretty much on the internet that's doing this has. It's much more heavily weighted into this deeper philosophical stuff. And I find that fascinating because it really does get to the problem, which is, why should we do what you say? You say ought, we say why.
No, thank you, Graham. I didn't even realize we were going to be like, I knew, but like, I think I just like, I saw the schedule and I got mixed up. I was like, I think I'm with Godless because that had been put up on like that was the first one I saw. And then I messaged you and I was just like, bro, like I just appreciate you. I see a lot of like crap going on in the world and just want to reach out and appreciate it. And then you're like, yeah, we're doing the show. I'm like, yes, let's go.
Let's do it, baby.
I did want to give
a thrill.
I did want to give a shout out to somebody in the comments. I just joined there and looked at the live chat, which I try not to do because it will distract me. But Joe Emanin says that he goes, I love you guys. And I think I speak for all us. We love you too. And anyone that feels that, we love you. And thank you for even you could have spent your time anywhere tonight and you spent it with us. So thank you. Yeah. That does not go unnoticed. I really appreciate that.
It's like please. It's like the people that come up to us at the back cruise and say, I really like listening to you. And I'm like, why?
Yeah, get involved. Come volunteer. Start, grab a mic, make your own channel, do whatever you can, get the word out. Because the mission, the reason I'm with the ACA is because their mission ends with promote the separation of church and state. And that's the biggest sort of existential threat we've had in a long time. And it's very real. So please do get involved, volunteer, whatever you want, game night, just start talking to people. You talk to one neighbor and you might find a new friend. So keep it up. So for the crew, everybody, thank you. And we'll see you in the comments. Bye.
Watch Talk Heathen live Sundays at 1 p.m. Central. Visit tiny.cc/YTTH and call into the show at 512-991-9242 or connect to the show online at tiny.cc/callth.